when I think about that, I think about kind of really big ideas for big brands, kind of stuff that's, household names rather than kind of smaller, more kind of boutique projects. The sort of work that I really like to see are when big brands are kind of really acting in a very innovative way, that are creating big kind of culturally relevant ideas as well that become part of the vernacular. So it's work that's not only just famous within the marketing and advertising community, it's work that's famous with consumers. Probably brands like Nike do it really well with sort of the whole Run London and the North versus South kind of campaign. That type of work which becomes sort of iconically famous in its own right, but gets people participating in it as well. I think that's when it's not just a kind of passive broadcast idea, it's a really big participative idea. And I kind of think for me that's when I start to really kind of like that sort of big sort of heavyweight type of thinking. For me, what I talk to my creatives about is kind of looking outside of the industry, actually. I think it's really important as a creative person that your reference material isn't solely other ideas and other people's campaigns and work that was done in the past. I think it's so important that as a creative, you need to be a sponge. You need to be able to soak up lots of different influences. And I always encourage my teams to get out there and, go to the theatre, go and see something a little bit more experimental, go and see work that's produced by people that don't work necessarily in your exact sort of sphere. And that's, I think, is really important to the creative process. Without going out there and seeing and absorbing all these influences and then kind of meshing them together and applying them to some of the briefs that we do, that's when I think you get some interesting work out. I think if you're only looking at other people's work and work that's been done in the past, you'll never do anything new, you'll never do anything innovative. I think everyone is creative. I think that, you can remember being children and everyone had that kind of ability. And I think, unfortunately, the education system in the country, to a certain extent, drums it out of you. But I think you can see now where, like the rise of kind of photography as well in the last, sort of 6 to 8 years, where people have, things like Instagram, and people have become, really fallen in love with their kind of being creative again. And I think that everyone has that in them. And I think that actually now there's lots of tools out there that can enable people to publish their creativity in interesting ways. And I think that actually there is a kind of, a real resurgence in people, especially, like I said, from a photographic point of view at least, expressing themselves a little bit more than they used to. I think I probably would have bothered people more as a student. I think I was, like a lot of students, you want to work with your heroes, and that was the best advice I ever had. And I think probably I didn't pester people enough. I think I probably should have really, really kept on at the people that I wanted to work with and become, sort of a bit of a pain, more than I was. I think I was probably too polite, because that's really what you realise when you start working in the industry. That's really important, that it's hard to get in and you need to work with your heroes and don't take no for an answer and keep coming back and keep doing better work until they give you a placement. I think maybe I was a little bit too polite.